Hello, it's Spence, the evil genius from Widget Laboratory, with your Lab Secrets tip of the day. Today I'd like to introduce you to another tool for our toolkit. This one is called the Phoenix. It's an image editor that's free. It's an online Flash-based image editor from Aviary. They've got a great suite of tools over at aviary.com, including a color editor, audio editor, effects editor, vector editor, image markup. We may introduce a couple of these other tools, but for today I definitely want to introduce you to Phoenix. Phoenix is a great alternative for anybody who immediately wants to start editing their images or other digital things online, but who doesn't otherwise have the money outlaid for something like Photoshop. Now, we've shown you some other image editors before, but what I really love about this is it's an on-demand tool. You can get to it just by going to aviary.com. You don't have to even be on your own computer with software loaded. Now, just to give you an idea how powerful it is, which, by the way, is just as much as Photoshop in many respects, I've gone ahead and set up something here, which is just a little cool graphic logo that I created. Now, while technically this isn't an image, I oftentimes will use a vector graphics program as well as an image editor to create logos and banners, which can be used throughout my Social Go networks in order to jazz things up a little bit. This I made in just a couple minutes, and I'm going to show you both the tool and how quickly it is that you can use it for making some things on your site. Now, what I did here is I went and started with a new document. I can discard all these changes, and you can either load an existing file or start from scratch. Remember, this is all happening online in the browser. I first went ahead here and I grabbed a rectangle tool and I just drew out an area. Doesn't really matter. I'm going to go next to the paint bucket. Here I'm going to select the gradient tool, and the gradient type I want is a radial. Now the spread is called reflect, and think of that like the reflection of waves in a pond if you throw a rock in it. Once I've decided that I like that, and I've got the stark contrast between white and black here, I could obviously select other colors if I wish just by clicking on the color picker, but I'm going to stick with this for the tutorial. Click on Paint Bucket, and now I can pour that into place. And that completely doesn't work. Let's try that again. We're going to go for a radial effect. Reflect. Alright, here we go. Much better. Sometimes even the evil genius has to check his tools. Now I like that look. What effectively is happening is it's making a nice arced curve here, and we can go ahead and now do our overlay of a graphical text. I select the text tool, and now you have access to all of the fonts that are on your native computer, as well as some of the ones that are standard. In this case, I picked something that was kind of a handwritten text called P Heart, and I click here and I'll say something like, "My new logo." Now we're going to add a couple quick effects onto this. First of all, I can go ahead and change the size just by dragging this, and I could go up to as big as, let's say, 67. And using my arrow selector tool, I can move up. Next, I can add some filtered effects. So when I click on the text that I just created, I go to the right here and making sure I have the layer selected. Click on FX. I have to convert that to a bitmap. Now the fun begins. Let's go ahead and put, like I just did, I'm going to put a shadow on there. And you notice that's a pretty harsh shadow. So I'm going to adjust the alpha layer, which is transparency, to something a little more subtle, maybe like 0.50. I'm also going to increase the quality up to either medium or high, which will increase the density of the pixels. That'll make them smaller, and that gives a nice fine edge to the shadow. Last but not least, I could do some cool stuff if I wanted, like I could change the color of the shadow to something ridiculous like neon green. But in this case, I'll leave that alone. I think what I might try is, let's see what knockout looks like. Knockout is a cool effect, almost like it removes it. Now, obviously, the possibilities are unlimited here, but the cool thing is that once you've set up the design the way you like it, you can go ahead and save it, export it, or do basically whatever you want. Just grab it and put it up in your Social Go website. This has been Spence with your Lab Secret Tip of the Day.